Hare Krishna. My name is Braja. For anyone who does not know me, I'm just assisting Krishna Dilal today. He is on the road and unfortunately running a little bit late, but hopefully he will be able to join soon. So I would just like to welcome everybody to the ISKCON Ottawa Sunday Feast. I see that right now there are 15 people, devotees present online, and we are streaming live on Facebook. And how many devotees are present in the temple? It was so nice to hear the kirtan. It sounded like a kirtan party, really wonderful. How many devotees are in the temple today?
What's the message? 18.
18 devotees in the temple. Wow, so that's very nice. Wow. We're getting back to know slowly. So we just had the kirtan, glorification of the Lord, and an arti ceremony, welcoming and worshiping their lordship, Shri Shri Gaura Tai. And we're going to have our guest speaker who is coming in from Montreal. He's on Zoom now. I'll let Yeshika introduce him shortly. And we'll have a talk for about a half hour, 45 minutes, and there will be time for questions, comments, and reflections. So please, do feel free to participate. It's always appreciated by the speaker and all of the listeners. And then after the talk, we will again have a kirtan and arti. So we will pass it over to Yeshika.
So as Mataji said, today our guest speaker will be His Grace
Oh, and sorry, Yeshika, it's a little bit quiet.
Can you hear me now? Haribol.
That's better, yes.
So as Mataji said, today our guest speaker will be His Grace Gokulananda Prabhuji. Prabhu studied fine arts at University of Ottawa and he joined ISKCON in Vancouver in the summer of 1971. He was initiated by Srila Prabhupada in 1972 and joined the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust Library Party for 2 years in 75, where he was able to travel across America as well as Western Europe. He later became the vice president and treasurer in Montreal, and after that he served at our very own Ottawa Temple for 3 years and has also served at the Lake Huntington Gurukul in New York as financial support. Prabhu has also served at the Vancouver Temple for a while in the past at different intervals, and currently he's at the Montreal Temple as treasurer and vice president since 2009. So he's been back and forth a lot between ISKCON Montreal and Vancouver, and we're very lucky to have this association today. And I'd like to welcome Prabhuji once more and hand it over. Haribol.
Thank you. Well, thank you all, and Braja, and wonderful family, and all the wonderful devotees there in Ottawa. Ottawa is very close to my heart. I was born there, spent my youth there, and I had the occasion to serve there a few years. But I'm always feeling some of my roots are still there, alive, and I feel closely connected to that wonderful Sangha. And today, I've chosen a theme which I always felt very significant and beneficial to explore: the value of faith. How faith is the final criteria for measuring how we are advancing in our devotional life. The more faith means the more bhakti is growing, and I'll describe more about that as we go along. Of course, in our science of Krishna consciousness, it is the greatest science, Rajavidya, the king of all knowledge, and the ultimate science to awaken every living entity's spiritual potential of knowing and loving Krishna. But it is a spiritual science based on authority. That is, it's not a human invention. Bhakti is imported from the spiritual world through Krishna's empowered eternal servants, our Guru Parampara. And when by good fortune, he said, Ramandi Bhumite Bhagavanji, Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhaktilata Beach. That a fortunate Bhagavanji, when a soul becomes very fortunate, he receives the Lord's special mercy by contacting a pure devotee or the followers of the pure devotee, and he thus receives the Bhaktilata Beach, the seed of devotion. Devotion is the original energy of every living being. It's our eternal nature constitution. We are all loving servants of Krishna, but in this material world, it is forgotten and dormant, and therefore we have to undergo a process of reawakening that highest spiritual potential of knowing and loving Krishna. So that is done through the mercy of Guru. Krishna's mercy comes down through his empowered servants. And so first, that mercy, we attract that mercy by our own desires. We are in the material world by our desires to forget Krishna, imitate Krishna, and make a whole mess of our bad choice, undergoing all the miseries of this material world, etc., etc. But Krishna never forgets us, and he's forever trying to bring us back into our original loving connection with him. And he uses his great servants, his pure devotees, to do that work of reclaiming us, of bringing us back. And so there's in the science of Krishna consciousness, it's a science because there's an exact method coming from perfect authorities, from God, Krishna himself, down through that succession of perfect pure devotees or fully realized servants of Krishna. And that science has the full power to enact that awakening, that reawakening of our eternal identity as Krishna's servants. So in that science, there's a method. And therefore it says, Ado Shraddha Sadhu Sangha Bhajana Kriya. Ado means at the very beginning, first one manifests some faith, some interest, some desire to know God. And then that is the first step that makes the soul receptive to benefit from the association of Krishna's servants or Krishna's devotees, sadhu sangha. And then from them we learn the science of devotion, bhajana kriya. So faith is the beginning, but it is also a constant cultivation, a constant growth of faith through practicing the activities of devotional service, which are ninefold: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vandanam, etc. Okay, there's a very wonderful verse which describes the importance and benefits of increased or perfect faith. And let me share that with you. This verse was quoted so many times by Prabhupada because of its deep meaning and significant benefits that it describes. It's very, very famous. Yasya deve parabhaktir yatta deve tataguru. Okay, I have to find the right page. I know some of it, but not all of it. Okay, I'll start again. Yasya deva parabhaktir yatta deva tataguru tasyeta katita yatta prakashanta mahatmanaha. So nice. So, translation. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all the importance of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. So just see, faith attracts the Lord's mercy and allows the Lord to reciprocate with that faithful devotee. The faith is offered to the Lord and the Lord's perfect servants, the spiritual master, who is the Lord's instrument for helping us come back to the Lord's eternal service. And so I'll be talking a little bit more about how Krishna reciprocates with our faith. For that, I'll actually read from Prabhupada's books. There's a very nice section here in the first canto in chapter 5, Narada's instructions at Srimad Bhagavatam. There's 2 verses, so I'll read. So this is Narada speaking about his own progress towards the Lord and how everyone can achieve the Lord's mercy. O Brahman, thus by the Supreme Lord Krishna, I was endowed first with the transcendental knowledge of the Lord as inculcated in the confidential parts of the Vedas, then with the spiritual opulences of the Lord, and then with his intimate loving service. And then he'll continue. Please therefore describe the Almighty Lord's activities which you have learned by your vast knowledge of the Vedas, for that will satisfy the hankerings of all great learned men, and at the same time mitigate the miseries of the masses of common people who are always suffering from material pangs. Indeed, there is no other way to get out of such miseries. So, in Prabhupada's purport, some very nice, Prabhupada describes that the contact with the Lord is done through shabda or sound. We hear about the Lord from the authorized, sources, the Vedas given by the pure devotees or the realized souls. So by such hearing, the devotee can rise above the material plane to understand the inner meaning of the Vedic literatures, including the Lord's existence in the transcendental realm. The Lord reveals his identity gradually to one who has unflinching faith, both in the spiritual master and in the Lord. After this, the devotee is endowed with mystic opulences, which are 8 in number. Prabhupada later describes that these mystic opulences have no real attraction to the devotees because their goal is simply to love and serve Krishna. But Krishna actually reciprocates. He offers these opulences, which sometimes can be useful in serving the Lord, just like our Srila Prabhupada. It was observed how Prabhupada had superhuman capabilities of reading everyone's minds, knowing some of the future, knowing the intimate details of a devotee's life, through, one could say, mystic or supernatural vision that Prabhupada had. So Prabhupada simply used those powers for his service, for helping us become fixed in our devotional service. Prabhupada never used those special powers to control people, exploit, impress. He was pure, compassionate, simply whatever was necessary to bring up his disciples, make them more attached to Krishna by making them more attached to him as Krishna's perfect representative. And therefore, devotees were so amazed in their exchanges with Prabhupada. I've been so inspired for the last 20 plus years in hearing the amazing series Memories of Prabhupada, which I really strongly recommend. It was compiled by a wonderful Prabhupada disciple called Siddhanta Das from California. He had been a television and radio employee, and he had developed many, many skills in that realm of media. So he used it all to compile or interview hundreds of Prabhupada disciples. And he's now up to 85 different DVD recordings, totaling 300 plus hours. It's amazing, what he's done. Anyway, so that's a nice encapsulated direct sharing of how devotees experienced their exchanges, their relationship with Prabhupada. And there's amazing stories with the miraculous things that were happening. But mostly Prabhupada's purity, Prabhupada's love, Prabhupada was a lover of Krishna, and therefore he could give that love to everyone, at least, inspire others to take up bhakti yoga and awaken their own loving relationship with Krishna. But we were eager to know about Krishna because we could see how Krishna was manifesting through Prabhupada. We could see how perfect Prabhupada is. At least we had some glimpse. We don't have that full vision and realization, but at least even a few glimpses, I had them as every one of Prabhupada's disciples. Now we had some realization that Prabhupada could be right next to you if you followed his instructions. We would go out on the street, distribute his books, and we felt that we were really close to, and we can still have that, not just Prabhupada disciples, anyone in the world who wants to join Prabhupada's family and help him distribute the fruits of love of God, Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. That connection is available to everyone. It's available. And that's one of the great merits or benefits of joining ISKCON. ISKCON is Prabhupada's society of devotees busy sharing Lord Chaitanya's mercy in the form of the Sankirtan movement, distributing the holy name, distributing Krishna Katha, Krishna's words, and the amazing histories about Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, all of these things, and all the writings of the perfect devotees of the Lord, Srila Prabhupada's writings and all the predecessor acharyas. So anyway, so that's our family business. That's our essential purpose is to give Krishna to each and every person, give them some access, some attractions, some interest in these sublime divine gifts. So that is all coming from our faith in Krishna, which Prabhupada has been, awakening in us. And our faith in Krishna was totally linked or dependent on our faith in Prabhupada. That's how it works. If you want to know God, he's too great for us to even imagine how great he is. He makes his association available through his pure devotees. We call that the Guru Parampara, and it was especially manifest in the person of Srila Prabhupada, but it's still going on. Prabhupada has given his perfect teachings and his perfect process of bhakti yoga to the whole world. And so innumerable other good souls can become connected to our ISKCON Parampara, Prabhupada, and all of his followers, and they can have that direct link with Krishna through that perfect channel, that perfect connector, which are the great pure devotees like Prabhupada. Anyway, but why was Prabhupada so successful? And why is he forever the channel or the person that we can connect with to, understand Krishna and awaken our relationship with Krishna? Because of Prabhupada's unconditional faith in Krishna and in his Guru. That special highest faith is called Guru Nishta, being completely attached and fixed in your faith and your dedication to serving your Guru. And that brings me to a nice quote from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and from one of Prabhupada's great masterpieces, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which is the condensed but complete form of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay, and I remember many times reading this book and having amazing feelings of gratitude to Prabhupada for having been such a perfect instrument and having so much realization, so much perfect knowledge, which Prabhupada has incarnated himself in his words, in his books. He's forever present and available. It's amazing. So this is the episode where Lord Chaitanya is discussing in Benares, where Lord Chaitanya went. He went all around India to give Krishna the holy name to everyone. spread his Sankirtan movement. So he had one very famous historical meeting with Prakashananda Saraswati, the great leader of the Mayavadi community in Benares. That's the headquarters of the followers of Shankaracharya, Lord Shiva's incarnation, who appeared under Krishna's inspiration and empowerment to bring back the Vedas, because India had been overrun by the Buddhists. Buddha appeared 600 years before Christ, and that religion through the Emperor Ashoka had become the dominant philosophy of India. And Shankaracharya appeared in 600 after Jesus, 1200 years after Buddha, to actually push out the Buddhists out of India, which he accomplished. He took sannyas at the age of 8, and he preached for like 25 years. And he was so empowered, it was Lord Shiva, I imagine, that he was able to totally defeat and make the Buddhists practically run to the hills, like, completely be defeated. And he had them go outside of India to other Asian countries. So that was Shankaracharya, but at least Shankaracharya brought back the validity of the Vedas, but in an incomplete manner, simply describing the impersonal feature of the Lord, the Supreme Brahman. And that was actually preparing the way for other great empowered teachers like Ramanuja and Madhvacharya, who brought back the full conception of the Supreme Lord as the Supreme Person, Parameshvara, Krishna, or in his form as Vishnu. So that was preparing the advent, or the way for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who would give the full revelation of Krishna, Swayam Rupa, the original form of God, and all of the glories of Krishna, and the intricate meaning of the Krishna Lila, as described by the immediate followers of Lord Chaitanya, the 6 Goswamis. So that was a big plan that took centuries and centuries to come about. So in this episode, when Lord Chaitanya finally met with Prakashananda Saraswati, it was to explain the ultimate conception of Bhagavan, Lord Krishna, as a supreme truth, and thus show that the impersonal understanding is valid, but only partial, incomplete, because Krishna does control everything through his different energies. He seems to have an impersonal control, but ultimately he is there above everything, controlling everything for an ultimate purpose of bringing us all back into his eternal realm for eternal loving service to him. And so Lord Chaitanya did that in a most amazing, dramatic way. And so he's talking here with Prakashananda about his own. Lord Chaitanya said, well, I'm simply following my spiritual master, Ishwar Puri. And he told me that I was simply a fool if I could not dedicate myself to the complete glorification of Krishna. Therefore, he's describing, my spiritual master blessed me, telling me to dance, sing, and propagate this Sankirtan movement. And by instructing people about Krishna, try to deliver them all from nescience. So, and then Lord Chaitanya said, my spiritual master taught me the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. A person who is constantly engaged in devotional service to Krishna and who chants his holy name becomes so transcendently attached to the chanting that his heart becomes softened without extraneous endeavor. When this happens, he exhibits transcendental ecstasies. So Lord Chaitanya further informed Prakashananda Saraswati, because I have full faith in my spiritual master's words, I'm now simply engaged in chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And I do not know exactly how I become just like a madman, but I believe the name of Krishna has induced me so. I realize that the transcendental pleasure derived from chanting Hare Krishna is just like an ocean. It's called Premananda. In comparison, all other pleasures, including the pleasure of impersonal realization, are like shadow water in small channels. In other words, the original nature of the soul is to be in communion with Krishna, who is the ocean of pleasure, you know, and it's by loving reciprocation that the soul is allowed to experience Krishna's Ananda. The soul, it has Ananda, but not of its own. It is sharing, it is getting that Ananda from Krishna, who is the source of all Ananda. Like there's a saying in the Vedas, Ananda Vyasat, that God's essential nature is that he is full of unlimited pleasure, Ananda. In other words, God is simply enjoying, but he doesn't do it alone. He needs all other beings to join with him in that enjoyment. He enjoys through them and with them. See? So that's a very nice statement of Lord Chaitanya, that it's only because he had faith in his guru that he was able to experience this Ananda. Of course, we know that Lord Chaitanya is in the mood of the devotee, but he's actually the Lord trying to taste the flavor, the pure love of his own greatest devotee, Radharani. So Lord Chaitanya is Radha and Krishna combined into one form. But when he's speaking about that he's a fool, and it's only because as a spiritual master he was able to come up and experience some spiritual ecstasy. Well, he's very humble in the mood of Radharani, grateful to be able to offer some service to Krishna and being rewarded with Krishna's love and Ananda. So, like Lord Chaitanya, he's the original teacher, the teacher of the whole universe, but he has come and taken the position of the student. It's like, when a teacher is trying to teach, oh, this is how you write A, B, C, D, and the student is a slow learner. So the student or the teacher sits down next to the student and writes with the student. Okay, let's write it together. A, B, C, D, etc. So Lord Chaitanya is in that mood. He's actually the Supreme Lord, but he takes up the mood of his own devotee to teach that devotion to everyone. See? And thus we are given that full access to Krishna's love and pleasure by the mercy of Radharani, which is manifested at the Sankirtan movement, the spreading of the holy name of Krishna. Because Radha and Krishna are the Mahamantra. That is, the Mahamantra is the sound incarnation of the loving exchange between Radha and Krishna. We said that the holy name is not different from the Lord, but the Lord in his original form is Radha and Krishna combined. So the sound of the holy name, Hare Krishna mantra, is actually the sound incarnation of the divine couple, and it's saturated with love and ecstasy like that. And the great saints, they actually taste the deeper, connection to Krishna. His love and ecstasy are there in the Maha Mantra. And even us devotees, anyone with a little bit of goodness can immediately experience Krishna's beautiful, loving nature by sincere chanting. It's like when the sun comes out, automatically you'll experience, if you're in the sunlight, in the daylight, you experience the light and the heat of the sun. It's automatic. So similarly, if you have any bit of goodness in your heart and you chant Krishna's name, you'll have to immediately experience some of his love, some of his ecstasy. It's automatic. Of course, those who are covered by very sinful things, they cannot recognize divine nature in the holy name. I'm sorry, I'm in my office and the telephone has its own voice. Anyway, so Lord Chaitanya was giving, by his personal example, how it's faith in the Guru and what the Guru's instructions are that gives you access to Krishna's love and mercy. And he had to teach us by his own example. It's very wonderful. So he also, in this teachings, Lord Chaitanya Prabhupada quotes, it is the process of the awakening of faith, etc., is summarized by Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or the Nectar of Devotion. The first requirement is faith. That's why it says by Rupa Goswami, Ado Shraddha. At the beginning, one must have some faith. The first requirement is faith. It is due to faith that one will associate with pure devotees. And by such association, he develops devotional service. As devotional service develops, one's misgivings diminish. The anarthas, the impurities in our heart that we've been keeping there for countless lives, finally they're being removed by the fire. It says by the fire of devotional service, it burns up all the bad contamination in our hearts, all these material desires that keep us away from Krishna's son, from Krishna's loving reciprocation. Because Krishna is in our hearts, and he's taking all those coverings away. So as those misgivings or anarthas diminish, then one becomes situated in firm conviction. It's called anatta nivriti. And then we gradually reach a stage of nishta. Nishta means you're really fixed, you're really attached to bhakti, to devotion, and to Krishna's holy name, and all the details of devotional activities. You get excited, you get really deeply satisfied by doing devotional activities. Therefore, you want to do more and more. It's a really wonderful thing. And then, of course, after Nishta, there's the beginning of Ruchi, which is the taste, deeper and deeper, stronger and stronger taste for Krishna. Then I'll quote from, well, that's it. Faith, because Krishna is eager to reciprocate with our faith. He rewards us in many ways. He rewards us with realization, with appreciation for his glories and the truths he shares. Krishna teaches from outside. There's Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. They're all in sync. They all are in harmony. They're totally delivering the same truth. Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Prabhupada always said, Shastra is the real criteria. It's the guideline. It's coming from Krishna. Shastra, or scripture, are the empowered utterances of Krishna's empowered devotees, starting with Lord Brahma. And then he eventually enlightened or empowered Narad Muni, who eventually empowered Vyasadeva. And Vyasadeva empowered Madhavacharya, and Madhavacharya empowered Madhavendra Puri, Ishwar Puri, Lord Chaitanya. Of course, Lord Chaitanya is the source of all that power, but still, to validate the Guru Parampara, Lord Chaitanya himself took initiation within that Parampara, the Brahma, Gaudiya, or Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya, from Lord Brahma to Vyasadeva to Madhavacharya to Lord Chaitanya and his successors. So that Shastra are the communications, messages, information, knowledge given by God through the instrument of his empowered servants. And therefore, those who have very intense desire to know God, they follow the Shastra and can also teach by their own example. They are sadhus, they're following the path of pure devotion. And sometimes they also serve the Lord as transmitters or teachers for others. They teach by example, and they can also teach by instruction and a more formal relationship as Guru. But Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, they're always in sync. They're always, and the benefit of connecting with that is that you can experience what they have. They have unlimited faith in Krishna. They have a deep taste for hearing about Krishna, Krishna Katha, Krishna Nam, etc. And they can also bless you with many spiritual rewards. A taste for hearing about Krishna, Vasudev Katha Ruchi. There's a beautiful verse there in the Bhagavatam that by rendering service to the great souls, the pure devotees, anyone within the Guru Parampara, a great standard of service is done. Krishna has become very, very pleased, and he rewards such a good soul with a spiritual reward, not some temporary little material benefit, better health, more wealth, a better wife, better children. No, he rewards that good soul with more inspiration and spiritual strength to get closer to Krishna. Specifically, he gives Vasudev Katha Ruchi. Ruchi means the taste for hearing about Krishna, Vasudev. That's a great, 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 a rare blessing where you really become attached. You want to hear more and more about Krishna from the right source, from his pure devotees, and the great writings of the pure devotees like that. Because that's amazing, you know. In spiritual science, if you're in the physical presence of a great devotee, then you take so much benefit and inspiration from that. But it's not limited by some physical contact. You can be with the self-realized soul through the medium of sound. And when sound, what is spoken, and it is then written, Krishna is there in the sound and Krishna is there in the writing. Like Prabhupada's books, they are written kirtan. Glorification of Krishna is there, and it's present even within the writings. That's because Krishna is God, and he makes that possible. He becomes the words of his pure devotees. He becomes the writings of his pure devotees, the Vedas and all the other Shastras. All the books of Prabhupada, they're all Shastra, like that. So that we can have an attachment to hear that the divine transmission, those communications coming actually from God himself, Krishna. That's an amazing thing. If you really want that connection, it's happening through an eagerness to hear. And the same category, you become enthusiastic, excited to do more devotional activities. It's called utsahan. Utsahan nishara daryat karma pravatana. Sangatyaga Satobrite Sadbir Bhakti. Anyway, it's there in the Upadeshamrita. That's another reward that Krishna gives you. The eagerness, and excitement to get more into devotional activities. In fact, it's very much required. We need that blessing, that reward, because our senses and mind are still very much impure by association with the material nature since time immemorial. We have mixed desires. Sometimes we like to get more into Krishna consciousness, and sometimes our desire goes up and down. At least that's the case for me. But there's a solution. There's a way to get beyond those clouds and always remain in the sunshine of Krishna's mercy by keeping that enthusiasm alive. And actually, we are rewarded with that enthusiasm, and it also is a byproduct of strict discipline. When you follow the vows that we have to follow in Christian consciousness, we have 4 rules, and we have a definite program of spiritual activities. If we do those in a regular, practically daily manner, then one of the results, the byproduct, is that we become excited, we become satisfied and eager to do more of the same. But it's not cheap. It's not like, there's in India, there's all sorts of imitation devotees. They put on a big show, they love Krishna so much, and they'll pretend to have all sorts of ecstasies and all sorts of things. But Krishna does not want those cheap imitation. He neglects or doesn't even want to deal with those imitation people. That is a whole realm called the Sahajiyas. And Bhakti Vinod Thakur identified 14 main branches of those imitation devotees, or those who claim, by birthright, oh, we are Nityananda Vamsa, we are descendants of Lord Nityananda by seminal, by birth, and therefore we have monopoly. We can attain perfection through bhakti and like that. But that is all bogus and has nothing to do with the authorized system. In ISKCON, we are following Prabhupada, and Prabhupada is the perfect follower of his guru, and that community is called the Saraswat Vaishnava community, coming down from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And Bhaktisiddhanta insisted that we should all become Rupanugas, following the authority of the most empowered teacher from Lord Chaitanya, Rupa Goswami. So if you want actually claim to be a follower of Lord Chaitanya, you have to be a Rupanuga, a strict follower of Rupa Goswami. And his teachings are there. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion, Upadeshamrita, the Nectar of Instruction, a few other books which Prabhupada has given in their essential, succinct, that is complete and accessible way in Prabhupada's books. So that's the great gift that Prabhupada has given the world. And therefore we have the benefit of knowing exactly what we need to do, and also trying to share those divine gifts with anyone else, through our own enthusiasm, our own eagerness to give that same, opportunity to everyone. Because it's anyone who has taken human birth has that window of opportunity, that special potential to awaken all of our spiritual, nature, our spiritual potential. It is the greatest of all our potential. We have physical potential, intellectual potential, emotional potential to love, and cognitive potential to learn and understand things. That's all very good, but that doesn't really satisfy the soul. We have to learn to love Krishna again, and that's our spiritual potential, and it's easily attainable through the divinely given process of bhakti yoga in the authorized system, preserved, pure, and complete by the Rupanugas, the followers of Rupa Goswami, and our ISKCON founder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada. That's why ISKCON is the best spiritual community to join. Of course, we're all imperfect until we realize our full spiritual potential and actually become lovers of Krishna, 100% lovers of Krishna, unalloyed, it's called Amala Bhakta, pure devotees, where it's all a work in progress. So there's possibility for us to make mistakes and to give improper understanding. These things are there, but we have Prabhupada as our reference and as our example, a perfect, embodiment of all perfection, everything perfect for loving and serving Krishna. And it's very, not just well recorded, it's well transmitted. And that's the heart of ISKCON, is that we're faithful to Prabhupada. We will want to follow him 100% without any addition or subtraction like that. And so that's our safety, method. We keep ourselves faithful to Prabhupada. And I should have given this definition at the very beginning of the class. But so that faith, Prabhupada defined it as complete trust in something sublime. Complete trust in something sublime. You're ready to give your life to that which you have faith in. And we even see that trust enacted in the material world, in our relationships. Children have complete faith in their parents. They have to. They're completely dependent on the parents' protection and love and everything to fulfill their biological needs and their loving needs, their social needs, etc., etc. So the children should have that nice faith in their parents and reciprocate by offering obedience and gratitude to the parents, until they themselves become parents responsible for others, and therefore, can draw that faith from their own dependence. So that faith is working everywhere, and also in a couple, they have that faith or trust in each other that they'll always be working together for their own mutual benefit and for the benefit of their dependents, like that. Even friends have to have that faith. I can trust my friend. I can reveal my inner thing, the good and bad in me. And if I need to, I can share and get some good advice, and get some help, sometimes practical or just moral guidance or something. We all need good close friends. We can't have hundreds of close friends, but 5 or 6 good close friends that will encourage us when we're doing good and also tell us, hey, you're off. You can do better than that. Why did you do that stupid thing? That's not you. You can do better. Come on, shape up and do better. We need friends like that. Yeah, actually, in a married couple, it should be like that too. They help each other, appreciate each other, but also are ready to correct each other in a loving mood. And Prabhupada was always, he signed his letters, your ever well wisher, which means he was always trying to help us get rid of all the nonsense, useless things that we carry around in our hearts and minds, and get on the right path and do the right thing and follow the right method and the right teachers, like that. So Prabhupada was our most loving friend and protector and guide, And Prabhupada is still available to be that for all of us. We just have to get more connected, more knowledgeable about what Prabhupada, who Prabhupada is, and how his life is the perfect demonstration of knowing and loving God. And Prabhupada gave all credit at the end of his life. A couple of Prabhupada's closest godbrothers, they came in Prabhupada's, the last week of his life, as Prabhupada's body had shrunk to next to nothing. It's very painful for us to think of Prabhupada. He drove himself to the limit, in trying to give Krishna to the whole world. And he put his body into extreme, terrible condition, But Prabhupada's Krishna consciousness was forever perfect. The dwindling of his body did not dwindle his awareness and dedication and love for his followers and his love for his guru and Krishna. It was amazing. As Prabhupada's body was going down, his spirit was coming up in all of its glory. It's amazing to know and witness that. So then Prabhupada at the end, when his godbrothers came and said, you have done a great work, you have done the impossible, you have given Krishna to the whole world. It is so wonderful. And Prabhupada said, no, I cannot claim. Prabhupada was extremely humble. He didn't like to be glorified. He says, I only have one merit. He says, I was always very eager to hear my Guru Maharaj, or our Guru Maharaj, because they were godbrothers. And our Guru Maharaj spoke, and I took every word to heart. And I was so eager to repeat that perfect message. That is my only claim. Whatever has happened, the great miracle of ISKCON, 100 temples, 5,000 disciples, a huge worldwide movement, Prabhupada said, that is all his doing. He gave credit to his Guru. He said, but I had faith in my Guru. I had unconditional faith in my Guru. So here we see Prabhupada's, one of his final statements, giving us the essential truth that unconditional faith is the key for everything possible. Krishna gave Prabhupada a huge miraculous success because of his faith in his guru and of course in Krishna. It goes together, inseparable. You have faith in guru because he is the perfect servant of Krishna. You want to become like him, not imitating him and pretending to be something, but you want to follow in his footsteps. He is the embodiment of perfection, of perfect love, perfect surrender, perfect faith. And you want to have that. You want to follow such a perfect representative of Krishna, perfect loving servant of Krishna. So that Guru Nishta, that unconditional faith in Guru, brings everything else. See? And that was the main point of my class. Of course, there's a lot of other things to be said about like in the Bhagavad Gita. I'll just quickly refer to that in the last couple of minutes here. There's a chapter 17 in the Gita, which is almost the last chapter. And the divisions of faith, okay? And the Supreme Lord said, according to the modes of nature acquired by the embodied soul, one's faith can be of three kinds: in goodness, in passion, or in ignorance. O Arjuna, according to one's existence under the various modes of nature, one evolves a particular kind of faith. The living being is said to be of a particular faith according to the modes he has acquired. Guna karma vibhagasaha. According to our karma, we're given a certain nature, psychophysical nature, and also our essential outlook on life, or where we put our faith. And so men in the mode of goodness worship the demigods. Those in the mode of passion worship the demons, or very powerful materialists, And those in the mode of ignorance worship ghosts and spirits. That's still going on, actually. Okay, and then Krishna finally says, he goes into, you can also see a person's modes by what they eat. There's food in the mode of goodness, food in the mode of passion, food in the mode of ignorance. Of course, we only offer food in the mode of goodness, vegetarian food. But when it is offered with love to Krishna, through the Guru Parampara, it becomes transcendental food, Krishna Prasadam. Therefore, it's even better than food in the mode of goodness. But we can only offer food in the mode of goodness, vegetarian. So then Krishna goes into the topic of austerity. There's sometimes we sacrifice for things we really want. Even non-devotees, they make all sorts of sacrifices for the family, for business, for even the sports. There's the Olympics are going on right now. It takes them 10 years of training to reach the Olympics and perhaps win one of the medals. It's a lot of austerity. If only they put all that energy and effort in Bhakti, that boy. So austerity of the body consists in worship of the Supreme Lord, the worship of the Brahmins and spiritual master and superiors like the father and mother, and in cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and nonviolence. So anyway, many nice things are being described here that are very useful for our spiritual progress. So I think I've spoken broadly about the essential quality of faith, and we can measure where we have put our faith. We have put our faith in Guru and Krishna, then our faith is being nourished and being rewarded. And we can see it, how much we're attached to devotee association and to serving the Lord and his devotees. All these things are wonderful rewards that Krishna has given us. And we can build on that strength to get more deeper faith. And there's no limit. There's no such thing as, well, I have enough faith now. It's good, job done. I'm set. No, it's an ongoing thing. It's a reciprocation. Look at Prabhupada at the end of his life. He gave all credit to his guru. Says, my only credit, I had faith in my guru. I did my best to serve him. And now everything has come because of that. He's made everything possible. The huge success of ISKCON. He didn't even want to take credit for that, though he had worked himself to the bone to make ISKCON a vibrant, pure community, worldwide community of devotees. So Prabhupada's example is the greatest. We can all follow that. So I'll conclude with that, understanding, and I'll invite anyone else who would like to say or anything. Well, thank you, Anne. You've made a nice comment. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for.
Yeah.
You have something else to say, Prabhu? Were you going to say something? Sorry, did I?
No, it's good.
No,
It's
I
good.
was just going to say thank you so much for this talk on value of faith. And I think you covered things so nicely. And it's just so inspiring alone to see your example that you started devotional service so many years back and you're still doing the same thing, sharing it and reading these books and preaching the glories of your spiritual master. And so this is an example of that faith that is very inspiring.
Well, thank you. I have to say one thing. This month, it's August 1st, eh?
Yes.
Well, in 1 week, I will be able to say that it is the 50th anniversary or the 50th year that I met the devotees of Krishna in Vancouver. It's around August 15th that I first met the devotees. And 4 weeks later, I was living in the ashram, shaved up, like that. So the association of devotees is very, very powerful and beneficial. Of course, I was somewhat ripe. I'd been looking for that, but I'm happy that Krishna has kept me around for 50 years, But I still have a long way to go. But at least it's a work in progress. There's no loss or diminution in this sublime path of devotion.
Wow, that's incredible. So we'll invite any devotees to ask any questions or share realizations or just give a reflection. So something that you heard that you remembered that would benefit others as well. So you can raise your hand if you're online. You can press the raise hand button. And if you're within the temple, you can raise your hand and Ilya Prabhu will see you and he can unmute and invite you to speak.
Hare Krishna, Gokulananda Prabhu. Yes, we have the question from the temple right away. Priyam Prabhu, please.
Yes?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, accept my humble obeisances. I have no question. We were talking about faith, so I heard something in a lecture, so I want to share that with all of you guys. So one day, Vibhishan Maharaj wanted to send a gift to Lord Rama at Ayodhya. So he called one of his servant, and he said, "This is a gift. Can you give it to Lord Rama? I want you to go there in Ayodhya and give this gift to Lord Rama." And his servant said, it's very dangerous way to cross the sea. It's very dangerous, so I don't think so I will be able to do that. So what Vibhishan did, the Vibhishana, the king of Lanka, he gave a bag, a red bag with something in it, and he said, keep this bag with you and you will not sink into the water, or you will not sink into the ocean. So he believed his king, and he went into the ocean. When he first put his feet on in the ocean, he was wondering that he was not sinking into water. He was just believing that bag and his king. So in the halfway through, he came in the middle of ocean. He was wondering what is inside the bag, which is saving me from this ocean, because it's very dangerous in there. So he was wondering, and he wanted to check, though the Vibhishan said not to check the bag, but he want to, the Maya is so powerful that he took the bag from his pocket and start checking into bag. There was nothing but Lord's name written on paper, and he was like, he get a doubt. Oh, the name of Lord is really saving me. The moment his faith decreased even a little, at the same moment he went into the water, into the ocean. So through this story, we learn that we should 100% believe and we should have faith to our Guru as well as the Lord's holy name. And if we truly faith on both of them, that we will definitely go back to Godhead.
Very good. Very nice story. Very nice.
Hare Krishna.
Very, thank you. That was a wonderful historical reference. Very good.
I
We have, yes, we have a raised hand online from Krishna Dalal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Gokulananda Prabhu. My obeisances all goes to Prabhupada.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for your wonderful class. Prabhu, I had a question with regards to, I guess, faith. Because some of us, or there are people out there that, are afraid to maybe have faith, right? Or to be faithful because maybe they had a role model that let them down, or they had somebody that chastised them hard. And I guess to be able to trust, right? Or to give oneself, have that unflinching faith. It takes some conviction. And could you give us maybe some practical tips or some words on how can we, how can we protect our faith so that maybe we're not, exploited somehow, may have that fear, may have that mistrust. Is there anything that we can do to strengthen that faith or protect our faith from being crushed somehow?
Yes, well, there's material faith and there's spiritual faith. Well, unfortunately, in this material world, because of our imperfect nature, we have a good side and we have a bad side. And sometimes the bad side comes and spoils the good in us, and we do something wrong towards someone else. And so, often it is seen that people's faith is betrayed, either in a couple or amongst friends, or there's so many, examples of that. And it's unfortunate. But one can learn from that I am not perfect. It seems that I am now the victim of someone's treachery or lack, that they did not reciprocate with my trust in them, something like that. The better way is to learn the lesson. Okay, well, I will have to be very careful in where I put my faith, but you should not become hard-hearted and say, never again, I'll never be able to trust anyone or have faith in anyone or anything. That's not the right way to respond. But in spiritual life, we can have difficulties even with some authorities, or even one's own guru can sometimes be hard or harsh. And that is always a test from Krishna. It does not allow a person in authority to misuse his power. Everything, when a person has power over someone, to dictate their behavior, and they say this is right, but that's wrong. You have to do this, that. It always has to be done with love and benevolence. The wish to do good to others. Krishna is doing that for us all the time. He's supplying our biological needs and other good souls that help us along like that. So we have to keep our trust in God alive. No matter what else is happening in our lives, God will never do something wrong or bad to put us down. Sometimes things don't come. Things can be really hard in this world. Our bodies can start falling apart. We have emotional problems. We have social problems, like a bad friendship, a bad marriage, kids that do destructive things, whatever. But we should not blame God for those things. It's part of being in this world, and it's a lesson for us to, again, put our faith in the right place. Like Prabhupada's family life. Prabhupada was so full of duty, he always did what was his duty to do. And he did his duty 100% for his family's sake. But he had a higher duty to his guru and to Krishna, Lord Chaitanya. So when his children were grown up, and everything was settled with the family, Prabhupada left him, and he went 100% into his preaching mission like that. And so, yeah, so life is there to teach us lessons, and in spiritual, as we're trying to go towards Krishna, Krishna will also send tests and apparent failures sometimes. Some people will mistreat us, will abuse us by their excessive harshness or power trip, as they say, push us down because they think they're better than us, like that. But we should just bounce back, roll with the punches, as they say, and we should just say, okay, I guess I deserve that one, and okay, I'm seemingly the victim in this specific circumstance, but I've surely done something wrong to others, either in this life or my other lives. So I guess I deserve everything that's happening to me, and you don't give up. You just say, okay, I needed that lesson, and I'm going to learn something good from it, and I'll just carry on, and then I'll know how to put my faith in the right place. We should never let our faith be shaken or diminished. I have an example of a close friend of mine, Samir Roy Chaudhuri. His 31-year-old son, Basap, died of some mysterious infection. Within 3 weeks from having a sore throat, he had to leave his body. His body was totally destroyed by this unknown infection. He had the best doctors in Canada, a whole team of them trying to save him. Anyway, so Krishna wanted Basap somewhere else for some other wonderful service. And so Basap's only child, Basap was Samir's only child, and Samir could have been devastated to lose that intimate, beautiful, wonderful son. No, he actually started coming even more to the temple. He had been coming to the temple twice a week for the last 30 years, and then he started coming every morning at Mangalarti, and more eager to chant more japa, more worship of Krishna, hearing more about Krishna at every morning class. I mean, he responded in the most amazing way, showing how much faith he had in Krishna. He didn't blame Krishna for this tragedy. He just understood. He submitted to the fact Krishna's in control. I can't understand his plan. It's too great for me to understand, but I have faith and I owe him everything, so I'll keep doing more for him. So that was like really amazing. I could not have done that. I would be shaken to the core if the child is not supposed to die before the parents. Anyway, so big tasks can come, and it's sometimes a stepping stone towards even deeper faith. It's a fact. Is that all right?
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for your wonderful association, the opportunity to share what we have heard from Prabhupada. I don't know if there's any other comments or anything. Anyway, I'd like to thank all the wonderful devotees in Ottawa. They're doing wonderful service. I've been looking at your website, and you have kirtan in the park and other programs. It's great, And I'm especially thrilled to know you have this yoga in the park here at Strathcona Park, where we had our July 1st gathering. I have a sister, Diane, who spent 30 years working with the city of Ottawa, and her job was a landscape architect, and she refurbished all the parks in the Ottawa area, including Strathcona Park. So there's a family connection. There's a personal touch there. She brought me there after a year and a half of renovation at the park. Especially there's a fountain at the top near, anyway. So it's a park that I know well from my childhood. I grew up in that neighborhood as a 10-year-old kid, and also later as a young adult at the University of Ottawa. I was living right next to where the temple is, actually on Nelson Street. So anyway, all right. ISKCON, Ottawa ki jai. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you to all of the devotees for being present online and at the temple.